It is exactly 4 o'clock East African time. Good afternoon. I trust you're having yourself a wonderful Thursday on this 22nd day of August 2024. When you're heading east, you're bound to bump into the sun, as well as you're heading to the west is when the sun is going down. We welcome you as the day comes to a close, even as our teams of experienced journalists in our newsroom continue to work on stories making headlines from across the country and beyond. But for the next half hour or so, I shall be bringing you up to date with News Now. But here is a look at what is making headlines. Among the top stories, families of 3 Kangala residents are a worried lot after their kin were abducted and held incommunicado allegedly by police.
Walichukuliwa Jumatatu kwa saa 7:30 na vile nasemekana na waliona walisema ni mapolisi kutoka Nairobi.
The 5 officers held in connection with the escape of 13 suspects from Gigiri police station have been released on a bond of 200,000 Kenya shillings each.
The respondents be and hereby admitted to bail on the following terms. Each respondent shall execute a personal bond of 200,000 shillings each.
As the DCI promises a fat reward for anyone with information that would aid in the recapture of Kware murders suspect Collins Jumaisi. And Nyamira Party leader Martha Karua, Chief Justice Martha Koome, and a host of other leaders heavily criticized the newly announced higher education funding model, citing discrimination.
This model, if implemented without meaningful public participation, is not only unconstitutional but also discriminatory.
We thank you for choosing TV47 to inform you. I am George Maringa. 2 families in Kangala are pleading with the government to take immediate action of releasing their families who were abducted on 19th August 2024. Speaking at Kangala police station, Abdrazak Longton, brother of 2 of the missing, namely Jamil and Aslam Longton, believes that the people who abducted his brothers identified themselves as police officers before taking them away. Nonetheless, a friend to Bob Njage, one of the abducted, believes that they were abducted due to the recent anti-government protests.
Hiyo siku alikuwa nyumbani, alikuja asubuhi, akaenda kazi yake kawaida. Sasa kurudi lunch majioni hivi saa 7 sharp. Akakuwa amemaza kukula, alitoka kwa nyumba saa 7:30.
Vile nasemekana na waliona walisema ni mapolisi kutoka Nairobi, walijitambulisha kuwa wametuma kuja kuchukua ndugu yetu mmoja anaitwa Aslam. Lakini harakati ya kumchukua Aslam walichukua pamoja na Longton Jamil, wote wawili wakaenda nao. Nikakuja police station, nikareport. DCI wanasema hawana information yote kuhusu kuchukuliwa kwa Jamil wala huyu Aslam.
Sababu ya vijana kupotea na wengine kushikwa. Kwa hivyo wakaniambia natoka Nairobi, ilikuwa mwendo wa saa 4, tupatane Kangala usiku saa 4. Tufanye mkutano tujue ni kwa nini wengine wanashikwa, wengine wanapotezwa na wengine wetu tunaanza kufuatwa. Alipanda Rembo Shato, lakini kufika Mlolongo gari hiyo ya Rembo Shato ilisimamishwa. Watu wakaingia ndani ya hiyo gari, walikuwa wamejifunika uso, wakaweza kumpiga, wakamchukua, wakamweka kwa Subaru, na kutoka hiyo wakati hajaweza kuonekana tena. Ningependa niulize serikali, are we safe and who is next?
Nyamira Party leader Martha Karua said on Thursday she will take action against President William Ruto for human rights violations meted on Kenyans during the anti-government protests. Karua, who spoke during a press conference at her party headquarters, accused the head of state of violating the constitution by allowing innocent Kenyans to be brutalized by police while disrespecting court orders. The Nyamira Party leader says she will mobilize Kenyans against the Ruto regime and report the head of state to both continental and global human rights bodies, including the African Union Commission on Human Rights and the United Nations UN Commission on Human Rights.
The Ruto regime appears hell-bent on stifling dissent and any enjoyment of civil liberties by citizens. The constitution, it appears, has been cast aside by Ruto and his ruling elite. You remember his famous statement during his swearing in, "When I put the Bible down." It appears it's not only the Bible he put down, it's also the constitution that he cast aside. He cast aside the constitution and the rule of law. The law enforcement agencies, more specifically the National Police Service, have blatantly ignored court orders.
The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers KUPPET Nakuru branch has called its members to keep off from schools that are expected to reopen for the third term on Monday. Through their Executive Secretary Duncan Macharia, the teachers vowed to paralyze learning in all learning institutions until their 2021-2025 Collective Bargaining Agreement (CBA) is fully implemented. The teachers also called for immediate transitioning of intern teachers in the junior secondary from contract to permanent and pensionable basis, as they also urged the government to relook at the medical scheme for the teachers.
I am Duncan Macharia, Executive Secretary, KUPPET Nakuru branch. It is expected that the government and the TSC was to respect the second and the last phase of the CBA 2021-2025. These members of the first state did not happen in July 2024. So we are here today, having given the government 2 months to say that teachers of Nakuru County and this country, as it had been announced by the Secretary General to the National Governing Council last week on Thursday, that we are not going back to school on 26th of August 2024, that is on Monday. Yes. So our clarion call as Nakuru is that no CBA, no schools. No CBA, no schools. That's why we are here today with empty plates, saying that there's something that was expected on the table of the families of the teachers. They have worked, and this one was not implemented. So there are some issues that have been raised by teachers in various forums. One of them is confirmation and conversion of JSS and secondary school intern teachers. Yes. It is illegal to have teachers on intern basis because the code of regulation for teachers, which we and the employer TSC work harmoniously under, the code of regulation has already been breached because we don't have a situation whereby teachers can work as intern teachers. Yeah. So we ask the Kenya Kwanza government to fully implement the education charter, remove the intern teachers, convert all intern teachers to the legally framework of permanent and pensionable. So JSS should be converted. JSS should be converted. JSS should be converted to permanent and pensionable terms.
My name is Simon Waita. I'm the chairman KUPPET Nakuru County. We are here to invite people of like-minded and the parents, to remind the parents. I know this is the time they are preparing their children to go back to school. We tell them they should not bother. They should let the kids stay at home because the teachers will not be in school on Monday.
I am Nancy Chelanga, the Secretary Gender Nakuru. We are tired. The teachers of this country are tired being lied to. And I want to tell the teachers, don't fear anything. Don't fear any intimidation. Nobody, this strike is well protected. So don't go to school. We want our demands to be met. We have been told that teaching is a calling. Gone are those days. We are tired. Teaching is a profession. We have been trained. And we need to be treated as other professionals.
Kama Joseph Chebukaka, Organizing Secretary wa KUPPET Nakuru, tungependa tu kusema ya kwamba mwalimu yoyote wa Nakuru ama Kenya, usitembe kwa style ambayo inajaribu kuonyesha ni kama unapanga ama una nia ya kukaribia shule. Hata usivae nguo rasmi. On Monday kila mtu tracksuit, jeans ama t-shirt. Tuko na kazi ya kupambana na hii serikali ya Kenya Kwanza. Kwa hivyo tukikupata shuleni tutatembea na wewe mpaka tukurudishe kwako.
Kenya's public health sector is on edge as concerns grow over the country's readiness to handle a potential outbreak of the Mpox virus. Allocation of resources to aid in the awareness and readiness to deal with Mpox has been cited as a major gap at a time when the disease has been declared a public health concern. Ann Odida with more details in this report.
Health workers who will be the first responders in such an event are increasingly worried about their lack of preparation, training and essential resources needed to combat the spread of the virus.
There is no preparedness in our hospital in terms of any infection on how to handle it. If there is a massive infection in the country, we may not be able.
In a recent interview, the Secretary General of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, KUCO, emphasized that much more needs to be done to ensure the country is adequately prepared for any potential Mpox cases. He pointed out that many healthcare workers have not been sensitized or trained on how to manage the virus, which could have serious implications if an outbreak were to occur.
There could be some communication for the officers along the borders, or rather the entry point, in terms of what they are doing, but we know very well that we talk to our people. The healthcare workers are not still sensitized about this case.
This lack of preparation is not limited to training alone. There is a growing concern about the absence of vaccines, which are crucial in controlling the spread of Mpox. Health workers fear that without vaccines, even the most prepared medical teams will struggle to contain the virus.
If indeed the disease persists, we need to see how to initiate a process of ensuring that there is vaccine to vaccinate our people and protect our community.
Adding to the anxiety is the reliance on international aid for vaccine supplies. Emergent Biosolutions, a global life science company, recently offered to donate 50,000 vaccines to African countries that are on high alert for Mpox. While this offer is seen as a positive step, it also highlights the region's dependency on external support to manage health crises.
Ensure that at least our laboratories are enabled to ensure that we can get diagnosis whenever we need them. Because we know that like when we had COVID, the centers for diagnosis were limited until we had to increase the capacity so that we can enable every region to do that.
And as the situation remains uncertain, there is a clear call to action for the government and health authorities to ensure that healthcare workers are adequately trained and vaccines are made available. So far, Kenya has reported only one case, with 10 suspected samples still in the laboratory for testing. Ann Odida, TV47.
Thank you, Anne. Nairobi residents are set to experience a significant improvement in their water supply soon, following the completion of the Northern Water Collector Tunnel, which is expected to bring an additional 140 million litres of water daily into the city's distribution system. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, who spoke during a tour of the Gigiri Reservoir and pumping station, assured residents that the increased water supply will alleviate chronic water shortage that has affected several city estates, among them Eastlands, Kabete and Langata.
I'm very proud today to say that we are the final stage of preparation to receive the water from Northern Collector Tunnel, as well as from Karemenu as well, because it's a similar line that we're getting water from. So what we're doing today is to prepare for the connection between Kigoro water treatment and our reservoir here. There's water that will have to go to Kabete to be pumped to the upper side of Nairobi, Uthiru going up to Karen and Langata, the upper Langata Royal Park, who have never received water at all, but have the infrastructure, Ngando, and we promised them. I'm glad they've been patient, and this water is going to come. And also, when you look at Eastlands, the kind of rationing schedule will be, relaxed a bit more.
County will be receiving around 140,000 cubic meters per day to be channeled or directed to various parts of the estates of the city, so that we can reduce the gap between the supply and the demand. And the demand today is 900,000 cubic meters. What we can be able to produce today is 525,000 cubic meters. But once this water comes, the gap will narrow.
New survey by research firm Timely Kenya has shown that only 3 out of 10 Kenyans have interacted with their county members of parliament since the 2022 general election. In the survey conducted between the 1st and 10th of August this year and featured a sample size of 2,554, Kirinyaga woman representative Njeri Maina was ranked as the best performing at 71.9%. Uasin Gishu's Gladys Boss, Nairobi's Esther Pasaris, Meru's Kailema Elizabeth, and Joyce Kamene of Machakos closed the top 5 slots woman representatives, with the most notable bills were Kirinyaga's Njeri Maina with the Kenya School of Law Amendment Bill, Kisi's Ndonya Buri with the Sexual Offences Amendment Bill, and Machakos's Joyce Kamene with the Higher Education's Loans Board Amendment Bill, while the survey highlighted that there is little effort in addressing boy-child issues. Sanitary towels and water tanks were the most distributed items. Now, the government is devolving green financing to counties for better fund management after it emerged that almost 5% of Kenya's gross domestic product was channeled to mitigating the after effects of floods and drought. Treasury and Economic Planning Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi now says the government is looking to secure more funds for disaster prevention from the $100 billion commitment made by the Global North on balancing out carbon credits for climate justice.
As I make this clarion call today, as a continent we must come out strongly, united and driven by one key agenda of formation and operationalization of AFDAN to enhance our access to climate finance. This is something that we cannot do individually as nations. We must come together as a continent and insist in enhancing climate change financing. If anything, we are not the polluters of the environment. We know where the polluters reside.
The government has approved the hosting, and my ministry will provide facilities to host the office.
Both programs are part of the National Climate Action Plan, FLOCA, and in particular has successfully mobilized financing at both the community level through our county governments.
We are proposing that Africa's requirement to deliver on the goal of new collective quantified goal that we require at Baku is up to $1.3 trillion.
KCB Group PLC profit after tax for the first half of the year ending June rose 86% to 29.9 billion Kenya shillings as the group sustained focus on supporting customers and economic recovery efforts. This was a growth from 16.1 billion Kenya shillings reported a similar period last year, depicting a resilient performance that also saw the balance sheet expand by 6% to 1.98 trillion Kenya shillings, up from 1.86 trillion Kenya shillings. As a result, KCB remained the most profitable financial institution in East Africa and the largest by asset size. Profitability was supported by strong revenue growth across the group businesses on both funded and non-funded income lines. The contribution by subsidiaries, excluding KCB Bank Kenya, has continued to increase, closing the half at 37.8% in pre-tax profits and 34.4% in total assets, signaling the benefits of diversification to other markets outside Kenya.
See strong GDP growth across the region. There is rebound on agriculture. I think we're still enjoying the value of the improved weather and rains. A strong rebound in tourism and services sector. We've seen growth in South Sudan, Uganda, and Tanzania in 2024. And we actually believe that some of those will surpass 2023 levels. I know that many people will ask whether there is, hyperinflation that will check in South Sudan. So far, we haven't seen it. But we are alert to any of those happening.
So, at the same time, a key emerging area of focus is on the youth agenda. The past few months have seen some East African economies, especially Kenya and Uganda, having to respond to the agitation by our young people who are demanding for more inclusivity in the governance structures. As a bank, we are alive to this reality. And
getting that balance sheet distributed across, contribution coming out of subsidiaries that are outside Kenya has marginally shrunk to about 34.4% from 36.3% last year, and that's one on what I've just talked about in terms of the shilling strengthening. But secondly, you can see performance for KCB Bank Kenya. It has not been left hanging behind. It has also grown.
The Cabinet Secretary for Mining and Blue Economy, Ali Hassan Joho, has blamed infighting between different government entities for slowing the government's development agenda to the people, as Member of Parliament for Wundanyi, Danson Mwashako, decries low uptake of blue economy jobs from Taita Taveta. Julius Mariki with the details.
While speaking in Taita Taveta County during a consultative meeting with stakeholders in the mining sector, Joe has vowed to sort out an employment issue in blue economy sector that was raised by Wundanyi Member of Parliament Danson Mwashako. And this is what he had to say.
Mara nyingi mheshimiwa waziri, mambo ya blue economy ikitajwa, Taita Taveta husahaulika. Kwa sababu kama tuko pwani, lakini wakati inatajwa mambo ya mabaharia, mambo ya kazi kwa bandari, mambo ya kazi kwa mambo ya meli, Taita Taveta inasemekana kama haiko pwani. Hata watoto wetu wengine wamefanya ile inaitwa CSTW, lakini mpaka leo hawajapata mahali. So nikuombe wakati unafanya mambo ya mining unanyorosha hata mambo ya blue economy na maritime, watoto wetu wahesabike.
Huyu my brother hapo Mwashako huyu amezungumza mambo ya seafarers. Lakini unajua blue economy iko Taita Taveta. Simuko na lake Chala na lake Jibe, si hizo bado ni zetu. Si mnafaa nifanye mpango ambao tunaweza kusaidiana kwa hiyo area, sivyo? Kwa hivyo we will engage the leaders, we will sit and develop a plan. Tukienda Lake Victoria, because we are going to Lake Victoria, we are going to go to Lake Turkana. Here, Lake Chala pia we must come. Tumeelewana? So my plan is to engage the leaders kwa mpango wa kueleweka. So hii lake iliyoko hapa ipatie wananchi hapa faida kimaisha na kiuchumi. Nimesema hii opportunity ya watu kuandikwa kama baharia katika taifa letu kwa leo, katika watu walioandikwa wote, sisi kama Kenya tunachangia 0.2%. It's a big shame. Aibu kubwa. Sasa nimeambia sisi hivi na nimeshangaa kuna watu wa serikali wanashindana. The institutions pulling in different directions. Huyo vuta huku, huyo vuta huku. Sasa mimi nimemwambia mimi hii serikali nimeingia kwa sababu